Buyer inspection. In the previous chapter, we discussed agent disclosure responsibilities, property observations, and the agent inspection process. Those responsibilities focus on what the real estate professional must observe and communicate during a transaction. The next step in protecting a buyer during a real estate purchase is the buyer inspection process, which is a critical component of the buyer's due diligence period. A buyer inspection allows the purchaser to obtain a professional evaluation of the property's condition before completing the transaction. At the conclusion of this section, students should understand the level of inspection expertise expected from real estate professionals and how that differs from the expertise of licensed inspectors. Real estate agents are expected to recognize visible concerns and recommend inspections, but they are not trained construction professionals or structural engineers. Students should also be able to identify the characteristics of an effectively written agent description of property conditions, understand why buyers should not conduct their own inspections, and recognize why the lowest-priced inspector is not necessarily the best inspector. In addition, students should understand how brokers and agents can reduce liability when referring inspectors, why it is important to verify an inspector's licensing and insurance, and why buyers should be present during inspections whenever possible. Real estate professionals should also know how to verify contractor licensing through state regulatory agencies and how to respond if a buyer insists on conducting their own inspection rather than hiring a qualified professional. The buyer's inspection. Many real estate lawsuits arise because buyers believe their interests were not adequately protected during the transaction. In many cases, these disputes involve claims that the real estate professional failed to properly emphasize the importance of property condition, property investigation, or contract negotiation related to inspection findings. Most real estate purchase contracts include provisions allowing the buyer to conduct inspections within a specified number of days after contract acceptance. These provisions typically establish the inspection period, during which the buyer can investigate the physical condition of the property. The inspection contingency allows the buyer to evaluate the property and determine whether repairs, contract modifications, or cancellation of the contract may be appropriate based on the inspection findings. A buyer's inspection should generally be performed by a qualified third-party professional home inspector, not by the buyer themselves. Buyers often lack the technical expertise needed to properly evaluate structural systems, electrical systems, plumbing components, and other mechanical elements of the property. Additionally, buyers are often emotionally invested in the property they are hoping to purchase. Because of this emotional connection, buyers may focus primarily on the positive features of the home rather than potential problems. For example, a buyer may notice that particle board has been used instead of sheetrock in the garage, but may not understand the safety implications or building code violations associated with that construction method. A trained home inspector, however, would recognize the potential issue and explain its significance to the buyer. Professional inspectors are trained to evaluate structural systems, identify construction deficiencies, and understand how different building components function together. They are also familiar with maintenance issues that may cause future problems if not addressed. The value of a professional inspection. A competent home inspector provides an objective and detailed evaluation of the property's condition. Their report helps buyers understand both the strengths and potential weaknesses of the property. Professional inspectors are trained to identify problems that may not be immediately visible to untrained observers. They understand construction standards, installation methods, and how mechanical systems operate within a residential property. If the inspection identifies concerns or deficiencies, the buyer may use that information to renegotiate the purchase price, request repairs, or modify the contract terms. In some situations, inspection findings may reveal major structural issues or costly repair needs. In these cases, the buyer may decide to terminate the transaction entirely during the inspection period. For buyers with limited financial resources or limited interest in managing repair work after closing, inspection findings can be especially valuable in determining whether the property is a suitable purchase. Reasons buyers bypass inspections. Despite the significant benefits of professional property inspections, some buyers choose to bypass the inspection process entirely. Real estate professionals should understand the common reasons buyers make this decision so they can educate their clients about the risks involved. 4 of the most common reasons buyers decline inspections include time constraints, perceived cost concerns, the belief that inspections are unnecessary, and the assumption that the buyer can perform the inspection themselves. 2. Time-consuming. One common reason buyers decline inspections is the belief that the process will delay the transaction. Depending on market conditions, it may take several days to schedule a reputable inspector, conduct the inspection, and prepare the written report. However, the time required to complete an inspection is minimal compared to the potential financial consequences of purchasing a property with undiscovered structural or mechanical issues. A professional inspection provides valuable information and peace of mind for buyers, making the time investment well worth the effort. Too costly. Some buyers believe that hiring a professional inspector is too expensive. However, the cost of a home inspection is relatively small compared to the total cost of purchasing a property. In many cases, the lowest-priced inspector may also have the least experience or may spend less time performing the inspection. Because time is money, inspectors who charge extremely low fees may conduct shorter inspections and overlook potential problems. For this reason, buyers should not select inspectors based solely on price. Instead, they should consider the inspector's qualifications, experience, professional affiliations, and references. The knowledge gained through a thorough inspection often provides significant value and may help buyers avoid unexpected repair costs after closing. Viewed as unnecessary. Another reason buyers sometimes bypass inspections is the belief that inspections are unnecessary, especially when the property appears to be in good condition. However, there is no such thing as a perfect property. Even newly constructed homes may contain defects or incomplete work that requires attention. Professional inspections identify both the strengths and weaknesses of the property and provide buyers with a clearer understanding of future maintenance requirements. If the inspection reveals that the property is in good condition, the buyer can move forward with greater confidence and peace of mind. Buyers believe they can perform their own inspection. Some buyers believe they can conduct their own property inspection and save money in the process. While buyers certainly have the right to inspect the property themselves, this approach carries significant risks. Most buyers lack the training and experience necessary to evaluate structural systems, electrical wiring, plumbing components, roofing systems, and other critical elements of a residential property. If a buyer insists on conducting their own inspection, the real estate professional should carefully document that recommendation for a professional inspection was made. A common risk management strategy is to have the buyer sign a written acknowledgement indicating that the agent recommended a professional inspection and that the buyer chose to proceed without one. An example statement may read, "As your purchasing agent for the property located at property address, I have recommended that you obtain a qualified professional home inspector. Because you have elected to conduct your own inspection, you acknowledge that you are releasing the agent and brokerage from any liability related to the inspection you conduct. This document should be signed and dated by the buyer, and copies should be retained by the brokerage and provided to the appropriate parties involved in the transaction. Proper documentation helps protect the agent and brokerage in the event a dispute arises later regarding undiscovered property defects." Online discussion. Why should buyers hire a professional home inspector instead of performing their own inspection? Answer. Professional inspectors have the training and expertise needed to identify structural, mechanical, and safety issues that most buyers would not recognize. Why should buyers avoid choosing the lowest-priced inspector without evaluating qualifications? Answer. Lower-priced inspectors may have less experience or may spend less time performing the inspection, increasing the risk that problems will be overlooked. Why is it important for real estate agents to document their recommendation for a professional inspection? Answer. Documentation helps protect the agent and brokerage from liability if the buyer chooses to waive a professional inspection and problems are discovered later.